next speaker, and he really is our next speaker this time, honest, is Chris Larcombe from Noomap, a tool for change. Chris designed Noomap upon leaving academia with a first-class BSc degree in computer science, master's distinction in evolutionary and adaptive systems, a PhD work in cognitive developmental epigenetic robotics. Please, can you welcome Chris?
Hello. Let's see. Can everyone hear me if I speak like this? No. Yeah. Okay. Great. So, my name is indeed Chris Larcombe, and I am a walking, talking fractal. And you'll see by the end why I've just said that. The title is Tool for Change, and I'd like to add a new subtitle, which is a path to superabundance, because I think we're going to bypass abundance and go straight to superabundance. So what is Noomap? It fits in very nicely with the previous talks, especially the last one. And I'd like to collaborate with all the speakers. Noomap is a tool and a way of thinking as well that can help us to collaboratively map what's around us so we can see, and also it can facilitate collaboration or co-creation. So we can collaboratively map what's going on so that we can see, and then we can crowd create a new civilization using these new tools so that we can be free rather than relying on governments or institutions, although they can still do their best to help. It would be nice to have their help, but we shouldn't necessarily depend on those institutions or the government. So Noomap's been in development for the last 5 years or so. I dropped out of my PhD so I could focus on this, because I could see the planet was in a state of crisis and I didn't feel like I could really do anything about that within the system. Some people are doing fantastic work in the system, but it wasn't for me. So Noomap is an emergency response to the planetary crisis, and its intention from the beginning has been to facilitate global change very quickly. It's an internet-based technology, social and technological, and soon physical. It's intended to facilitate whole system shift, a quantum leap or bifurcation in systems theory terms, and with or without the collapse of the existing socioeconomic system. The research it's based on is systems theory, cybernetics, general semantics, which is the work of Alfred Korzybski, cognitive neuroscience, adaptive behavior, psychodynamics, mental health, quantum theory, and holographic physics, which is very new stuff. It's a labour of love, and it's a co-creation. It's not just me working on it now. There's a core team of 3 or 4, and then it sort of blends into about 10. So the way we're bringing it into being is quite novel in itself. We don't identify with being a business, although we do have a CIC. So it's a labour of love, and so far it's been developed quite extensively on a gift it forward basis. Though I haven't been earning money developing this. I'm gifting my time, and we're currently looking for funding. So it's about helping us to see what's happening and to facilitate collaboration. We're crying out for a new collaboration tool, and Facebook, Slack, Trello, all of those things aren't really cutting it. So I'm going to split this into 2 parts. The first part is the thinking behind it. Okay, so I've called that new thinking, and new comes from the word nous, as I'll explain. So everyone's familiar with this Einstein quote. The question is, what kind of thinking do we need to transcend this crisis we're in? What kind of thinking? So I'm going to suggest some stuff that might help. So the word Zeitgeist, I found out recently, Geist actually also means mind. Actually literally translates in German as mind. And a word I want to introduce now is noosphere, or noosphere is another pronunciation. Nou or nous comes from the Greek for mind, and noosphere, like the biosphere or hydrosphere or atmosphere, is a planetary sphere. Okay, so the noosphere is the sphere of human thought and perception that envelops the planet. You can think of it as all our nervous systems combined. So every nervous system, every human nervous system on the planet, but also the subjective experiences and the thoughts we're having. So it's the planetary sphere of human thought and perception. So the zeitgeist, the global zeitgeist, is the noosphere of the moment. So right now, right now, right now. All the thoughts, all the perceptions, everything we're experiencing in the now. Why is that important or useful? Why create that concept? Because our thoughts, and that includes our beliefs, because beliefs and thoughts are very interconnected. Really, beliefs are just recurrent thoughts that become habitual. This purple shows thoughts. that's the main determinant of our perception, which is what we experience, okay? So we have a perception of thoughts and action, but everything is being experienced. So our thoughts and beliefs determine, to a large extent, our perception, and the actions we take are reactions or responses to perceptions. So in other words, our thoughts and beliefs contextualize and determine our actions. And this relates, every assertion I make is backed up by evidence, but I haven't got time to present all of the evidence, but it is there. Sensory motor behavior is all of the stuff I've studied and the other people. So why is this important? Well, because our action, the actions human beings are taking, determines the state of the planet. And right now we have that. We have a state of global dis-ease. So it's through our action that the planet has come into this state. So if we want to change the state of the planet from that to something else, we need to change our thoughts and our beliefs, hence Zeitgeist. And I think I'm to some extent stating the obvious here to everyone, because I think we understand that. But right now we have a huge set of problems. It doesn't feel good. It's not sustainable, and we really need to address the root cause. And you could call this state a state of entropy. It's entropic. And entropy is like the opposite of the life force. So our thoughts and the actions we take can be aligned or not aligned with life, with the well-being of every organism on the planet. So what happens if we start with a state of mind? So from the perspective of Noomap and this presentation, the problems that we call problems or challenges are symptoms of a diseased way of thinking and perceiving. So it starts here. I'm going to go into more detail now, and this is just one perspective, of course. And I'm not going to talk about the specifics of what we think, but I'm going to go more into how we think, because what we think, I don't need to tell you what to think, because you have the scientific method and emotions for that. You have intuition, emotions, and a scientific method for finding the truth. But what many people don't seem to see is that our thoughts have been disconnected from our emotions and our emotional intelligence, and also they're disconnected from the true reality around us. I mean, you can see that. But in general, we have this kind of thinking, not what we think, but how, which is overly linear. It's like just left brain cognition. It's reductionistic, silo thinking. It's local focus, hocus pocus. That comes from Buckminster Fuller. So Buckminster Fuller was very aware of this, and he coined the term synergy and synergistic thinking to get us out of this separation consciousness, separation thinking. Beyond the way we think, there's perception. So I'm going through each of those stages. And here we can see that most people aren't aware of the global crisis we're in. They're not aware of the crisis and the problems. Beyond that, they're not aware of the solutions to those problems. We have, all the solutions we need are already there. We just need to make them visible. But what's the point in seeing the solutions if you can't see the problems? So we need to see both. We also need to see the community. So right now, we cannot see all the skills and resources around us, let alone the noosphere, the thoughts people have, the desires, what they want, the intentions, what they're doing, their visions, their passions, So we're disconnected from the community and the true reality around us again, on the level of our perception. So now you can start to see why the mainstream media is such an issue, because it's absorbing our attention and our perception is going there. Beyond thoughts and perception, we have a fear-based response to perception. So even if we can think holistically and synergistically and perceive everything, we still need to respond to those perceptions in a way that helps. So the action is often disconnected from our essence, our hearts, our genius, our creativity, and we have competitive behaviour and ultimately socioeconomic systems based on fear and control and the creation of entropic systems and technologies. So I hope that's reasonably straightforward and clear. So here's a summary of what I just said. The global crisis is a global crisis of the noosphere. It's separation thinking, a lack of perception, and fear-based action, which is the way we react to our perceptions. And the good news is that we can change that. We can change the way we think and perceive really quickly. And media is a key component in that. Look at how the Zeitgeist films changed our thoughts and perceptions. Look at how the internet has changed our thoughts and perceptions. Look at how television changes our thoughts and perceptions. And everything comes out of that via our actions and then the state of the world, and then there's a feedback loop. So we can change the beginning of that tree of causality. We can change our thoughts consciously, and we can do that very quickly. So that's the good news. So the strategy is change the mind, the zeitgeist, change the world, so that it's happy and in a state of syntropy rather than entropy. So here's a suggestion. Instead of linear cognition, we start to use the right brain, and we start to think about how things relate to each other holistically, as well as just looking at the parts, which could be called systems thinking or synergistic thinking. Systems theory has been around for a while. It's a paradigm-changing way of thinking, but it hasn't been introduced to the masses because it's mainly stayed in the scientific domain. So part of Noomap is how do you bring that out into the mainstream. The perception component, we need a new perception, a relevant and healthy perception. We need to see the problems, the solutions. We need to see all the resources. You know, same things coming up, right? It's kind of obvious. We need, instead of fear-based response to perceptions, we need a love-based response, compassion. Co-creation is something that I want to define later in here as an alternative to fear-based response. So the solution, summary of the solution, is a revolution or evolution of the noosphere to synergistic thinking and perceiving everything of relevance and co-creation. Noomap targets these three areas. It's a holistic solution to the extent that it works on these three levels. It's also a noospheric technology. So it can help us think synergistically. It can help us have a new perception by augmenting our perception. And it facilitates co-creation and collaboration. So that's where it's a collaboration tool. So it's going to augment perception, and it's going to facilitate collaboration. It's those two things, helping us see, helping us create stuff together. Now I'm going to talk about the technology in a bit more detail. And this is one of my favorite quotes. I'm sure you all know it, that you don't change things by fighting existing reality. You transcend it and obsolete it. So that's what we're going to do. So one of the key innovations in Noomap is a new form of media that has been biologically, neurally inspired, if you like. The actual media itself mirrors the way the brain works. And the technology that currently exists is like semantic web, and there's some talk about the global brain and all that, but this is something new, but it relates to that. So the innovation here is the Holonomic map. I just call it a Holonomic map, or holonomic map, and it comes from the word holon, which is a whole and part. It's a fractal. A holon is a whole and a part at the same time that can contain other holons that are containing other holons, etc., etc. So, like, for example, there's the planet, there's the biosphere, there's all of humanity, then there's me, then there's my head, and there's my eye, and there's my, right down to the subatomic level, and who knows, maybe it's actually infinite, we don't know. We just have theories that we think are truth. So, what happens when we start mapping everything like this, right? Everything we experience. It has to be experienced to be fully understood what the implications are of this. But if you've just noticed that everything in nature actually appears to be holonomic or fractal, including our bodies, including the brain, then you can imagine something interesting might happen when we start creating a form of media that is based on the same structure. So a holonic map helps us map perceptions and information as holons, and it helps us to experience the world in a new way, to have a new worldview. The holons are representing objects of perception, which indirectly represent physical or energetic things that exist beyond our perception because our nervous systems map energy in that way. So we're indirectly mapping the world, but really what we're mapping directly is our perception, our lived subjective experience moment by moment. But basically, it's a fractal canvas, okay, and everything's circles. The circles are different colours that represent different types of holons, and you can zoom in, and you can take a holon and you can place it in many places at once, and they're all synchronized in real time. Okay, so here's a holon that represents me, and I have mapped some of my passions here. So these are things I'm passionate about. We're not full screen. Okay. Okay. I'm passionate about nature, and part of my passionate about nature is cats, and there's an intention, meow. Yeah. And I'm passionate about holonic mapping, and I've put a skill of holonic mapping in there. And my skill of holonic mapping is also in skills, see, holonic mapping. So you can see that the holons can be in more than one place at once, which is where it goes kind of quantum, and you can think of a holon being in a superposition, okay? And we're also using a technology called WebSockets, which enable the people to be connected in a very near real time. Oh, here's a vision for a new Earth. And I've mapped some desires here. I want truth, I want freedom, I want harmony, I want co-creation, I want abundance, I want equality. And inside any one of these desires, I could map, say, an intention, or someone else could map an intention. And that's when we begin to co-create. I'm going to get onto that. I just logged in, and here you can see I'm mapping challenges and solutions. So there's a challenge of poverty and inequality, and in it we have some solutions: fair redistribution of existing money, global or national unconditional basic income, RBE, and you can go inside a solution and have an intention, such as co-create an RBE, and then you can have intentions such as exchange ideas, and we have sub-intentions, and I can take, say, that, and I can copy it, and I can link it anywhere, like right back up here. So there we go, co-create an RBE. So that's now in two places at once. So if I move them all down here and go back into here, so you can see they've all moved down. So we're looking at the same thing in many different places. And of course, many people can see that at once. Yeah, so basically every holon is something in your consciousness, in your experience, in your perception. And you can take a holon and you can copy and link it into any other holon. So you have a fractal map where you can reuse all of the holons. Okay, so here, for example, just let it load up. Just dock that and go there. Okay. Yeah, it's a bit. Okay, it's loading. Here we've got a resource. So this is like a physical thing, and I've mapped the 3 areas of this building. And here we can go into the B wing, and we can go into the second floor of the B wing, and we can go into the canteen. This is where I've been staying in Rotterdam. We can see if someone wants contributions to communal food. So we can mix the kind of information, so that makes it a holistic map. Okay, so all of what you just saw helps you think in a new way, because it's all fractal, and it's the way nature organises itself. So it helps us to think in a new way. Just mapping stuff like that helps you think differently, and you can see how everything's related to everything else. Then we take this to the next level, where we turn it into a collaborative mapping, like OpenStreetMap, where everyone can map stuff and share it with everyone else. So now we have mapping and sharing of perceptions in real time. And when we share our perceptions, we can collectively see more. Imagine if you could see everything everyone else sees. That'd be like omniscience, right? It'd be like a godlike perception. So that's what Google and Facebook have right now. They can see everything, but we can't. So we need to co-create something that's from the grassroots, that is run in a different way. Yeah, so basically now I've just shown you a way where we can map the crisis, the solutions, and all of the resources all in one place, because you just add new holon types for new things you're mapping, and they're all totally entangleable, right? Everyone can have their own Noomap hub as well. So like if I go to zeitgeist.noomap.com, okay, we should see a Zeitgeist hub. I'll come back to that in a second. I'm just going to define co-creation briefly as well. So I've gone through synergistic thinking and new perception, but now co-creation. So co-creation it's like collaboration, but maybe it's kind of a bit beyond that. So it's beyond competition and collaboration, and I define it as our healthy state. It's our natural state, where we're not fear-based, we're not being motivated by fear, and we're not being controlled. We're motivated from within, from our hearts, from what we're passionate about, and it feels good. Because we're leading ourselves and we're motivated from within, we can have a self-organising dynamic and a state of flow, and sharing and gifting is a huge part of this. So this is what I experience. This is what I experience in the Noomap team, and also with United Earth and Meesteren and Unity, all these groups that I'm co-creating and collaborating with. We're experiencing this. It's real. It's happening. And in this state of being, millions of us will demonstrate that it's possible to obsolete government and institutions which are based on hierarchy and being led and control. Okay? We can lead ourselves and self-organize in co-creative peer-to-peer networks. And the technology to help us do this is being invented and improved iteratively right now. Ethereum, blockchain technologies, there's tons of it. So the second one is living in a heart-centered reality where our passions and our emotions guide us, which benefits everyone. So we become like pieces of a New Earth jigsaw puzzle. So we each have something to offer. But right now it's kind of hard because we have to get jobs to meet our basic need and we need money, and but we're working on that. I hope I have time to explain. So here we've got a different hub, and you have a different theme, a different logo, a different set of holon types. Here we've got in action, in events, we've got ZDay London, and I started mapping out all the different talks so we could map the main memes and ideas, the desires, the intentions in each of these talks that you've heard today. We've got the chapters here, we've got Germany here, so you could collaboratively map all the Zeitgeist chapters, and this is all real time. So if someone else looks at this now, you see a little yellow dot spinning round, and if someone changes it, it updates instantly on all the screens. So you have, these are chapter holons, you see these? See, it says a chapter on the right hand side there. So you have different holon types for different hubs or communities, and then of course you can entangle the data, and any holon from any hub can be linked into any other hub, and it gets us out of this silo thinking and this silo problem. We have all these different services like Couchsurfing, FreeCycle, blah, 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 and they're all on different websites that need a different sign-up. So Noomap helps us get out of that problem, that silo problem. So we can create that. So this is a decentralized network where we all pursue our passion, basically, and we're motivated from within. We have our desires and intentions aligned with our values and our hearts, and we act on that. And these are the main frequencies, the main types of energy or perception that we need to make visible, regardless of what you call them. Look beyond the words, look what I'm pointing to. Vision, passion, desire, intention, skill, resource. We need to make that visible. This will allow us to co-create and collaborate universally. Public health, public sector, private sector, co-creative sector, whatever sector, every human being is creating their reality, and the way their mind works is the same. Like, we have these different things, okay? So you could call an intention a goal or an objective, but it's essentially the same thing. So we make that visible, then we can connect people through those things. So this is universal because it's multi-ontology. It's like we can get underneath the language. We can start saying, well, this person has an intention here, and in the public sector they call it an objective, but they are similar, so we'll connect them, and that facilitates collaboration, and it's based on resonance. So the synergy engine part of Noomap connects the dots automatically. It's an equivalent to supply and demand in the economy. It's connecting the dots. It's based on resonance, accelerates manifestation, and it comes from a holistic perspective where the system can see all the data that's public. And it's, as I mentioned, it's universal. And really this is going into crowd creation. So beyond crowdfunding, think crowd creation. There is no need for any kind of centralized authority or hierarchy anymore. Like, once we have this, and there are people willing to self-organize because they're leading themselves. I really want to demonstrate that. So co-create an RBE, I can click on synergize, and I don't know if I need to be logged in for this. The synergize button is the synergy engine, so click synergize, let's try again. Yeah, oh, it came up. Okay, so there's an intention, co-create an RBE at Synergy Hub in Rotterdam. Okay, so I can then go into that or see who's mapped it. These are similar intentions, but we can also match up a desire for a resource and a resource, So I've covered all of those, and I'm basically out of time, but I'll just say what's happening right now. We're pioneering co-creation in Rotterdam, an RBE, an unconditional sharing in a community in a large building that is currently being rented, but the people renting it empathise with RBE, and these concepts, and they're providing space for us for free. And what we want to do is create a network of hubs, the synergy hubs we call them, which is pioneering a new lifestyle and a new reality of co-creation. So we're going to embody co-creation. It's like a microcosm of the new paradigm in these hubs. You can live in them, you can visit them, and you can travel around them freely. Everything inside the hub, including the shelter and food, is free within the membrane. It's scalable, it's a self-organizing network, and it's self-sustaining. Anything monetized outside of the membrane that's co-created within the membrane will fund the project. That creates a torus dynamic, which will scale up exponentially. And then you'll have a situation where we all have enough money, but none of us need to use it when the membrane reaches the whole planet. Okay, so that's how we can transition. That's a model of theory of change. I said about the silo problem. And of course, Noomap at the moment is hosted on a server, so we can't just say, okay, everyone now go into Noomap, oh, there's no more silos. What we need really is a new internet. And we're recognizing that Noomap is part of a larger emerging whole, and we are going to rebuild the internet, basically. The key features of this new internet are going to be isomorphic data visualization, a shared global graph of data, which is on a distributed storage system. Look at Ethereum if you want to see a taste of what's to come, or IPFS. These are emerging technologies that are being co-created right now. I'm going to finish on this because I'm out of time. The systems and technology we create are a direct reflection of the way we think, perceive, and act. So it really starts with how we think and how we perceive. These things are all interrelated. So I'd like to say, may my emotional intelligence guide my mind into alignment with syntropy, which is the force of life. And that's it. Thank you.
Mind-blowing shit. I felt like I just smoked a massive doobie.
Psychedelic technology.
Yeah, might be an apt description. Right, so questions, please.
Chris, just help me to understand why the technology Noomap is needed instead of, for example, MediaWiki, which already is a highly scalable and collaborative means to create multi-layers of information. Why do we need a new tool, and what can you do with it that you can't do with MediaWiki?
Yeah.
Do you want to speak into this one?
Yeah, this one's good, yeah. Well, what can you do with it that you can't do with MediaWiki? It's like the difference between a plane and a horse and cart. It's like, it really is hard to get what this is until you use it and experience it, and it changes the way we relate to information and the way we think about things. But beyond that, it's about facilitating synergy and collaboration and co-creation. So it isn't just about making information visible. It's then we're going to do something with that afterwards. But generally, it's like a mind map. It's like a collaborative mind map. And all of the current websites and forms of media are very linear and box-like, and that they're isolated from other things. That it's not a network of information, and it's not conducive to collaboration. So it's really like, it's a complete paradigm shift. And this is the beginning. This is like a seed crystal of a new internet. It's one component in a new emerging internet. And it is going to take everyone by surprise. Yeah.
And the internet provider?
It's a meta media. It's a new species of media. Yeah. So we're 5 years sort of down the timeline, although everything I've ever done feels like it was leading up to this. There's a core team of about 5 of us. We're currently looking for funding. We want philanthropic investment because the way we're bringing this into being is not conventional, although we do have a business model and we are going to monetize it. We are in co-creation and we don't want a shareholder model, so we're looking for philanthropic investment. People can help us by volunteering their skills. We are looking for a vast range of different co-creators, from communications to programming, just send an email, get in touch with us, Facebook, my email address, my website, it doesn't matter. We like talking to people, just getting to know them. We like to sit in a circle of unknowing first and just connect on a more of a heart level, and then it usually organically unfolds. And you could also come to Rotterdam and come and stay with us for free in our Synergy Hub. So we're offering space for people who want to co-create with us. They can come and visit us in Rotterdam. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you.
Up at the back there.
So this technology basically is what would allow theories in the Venus project to accumulate the true resource-based economy, whereby, but doesn't it require participation by everyone to enable the entire world spectrum? Because otherwise you're only going to get input from X amount of people, just like, say, a voting system. What do you think of the like? Yeah, that's a good question. When I started this project, it was called SERBI, which was Scalable Resource-Based Economy. So I was active in the Plymouth chapter, and I couldn't see a theory of change in the Zeitgeist Movement. I felt a little paranoid, and I dissociated myself from it, and now I'm coming back in. And really the intention of this, when it began, was to facilitate the emergence of a resource-based economy. Because that, for me, was... I thought if we could combine the existing sharing systems into a meta-system, into an integrated whole, that would be perceived as a viable alternative to the monetary system. And Noomap can do this, because you have a hub for each of those different types of sharing with their own holon types. The other thing you said was, how do we need to get everyone on this? And I would say, no, we need to get a few hundred, a few thousand, a few million, and having a few million people living in a synergy hub network is like an alternative lifestyle where we share together. It will be very inspiring to others. And that's another project that's emerging. But it's the application of Noomap to facilitate the global change in a more direct way. Yeah, and I think that a few million people will be enough, but the few million will be inspired by the few thousand, and the few thousand will be inspired by. It's just going to spiral up. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Chris.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks.